Sure, we're good to go. Great. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type into the chat box. Equipment you're going to need today, same as we've been doing. So a letter ball. If you don't have a letter ball, a ball-shaped object of some sort, so a rolled up pair of socks, a rag, something preferably that's interesting for your eye to look at. And then just two pencils or two cooking utensils. You can use your thumbs if that's easier. So just having that handy. And then as always for this class, just being really mindful of your body, of how you're feeling, especially once we get into some of the visual and vestibular work. If you start to feel dizzy or nauseous or tired eyes or itchy eyes, all of that is totally fine. But that means that you've met your edge, and we just don't want to go too far past the edge. So take a break. You can close your eyes. You can grab some water if you need, and just really listening to your body. We're going to start with a pretty thorough warm up today. I know, or here in the Bay Area, at least it's a little chilly today, and I know it's good to kind of get the body moving and bring some of that awareness into the body more on these cold days. So we're going to take a little bit of an extra long warm up here. Okay, great. Okay, so coming back to a seated or standing grounding position of some sort. And I just want you to wiggle, you can keep your eyes open for this, and I just want you to wiggle your body around. Kind of move your shoulders, move your neck and your head. If you're standing, you could be moving your ankles, moving your hips around, and just taking inventory. Are things creaky or cracky this morning? Where does it feel easeful to move from? Where does it feel restricted to move from? Just making any shape you want with your body, just kind of getting the kinks out. Okay. And then we'll still the body down. We'll close the eyes. And let's go one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly today. And I want you to drop all of your focus all the way down into your sit bones. And if it's hard for you to sense your sit bones, what's the lowest part of your body that you can sense, and stay with that area. And then breathe into that area. Thinking about inhaling all the way down into the ground. And then exhaling up and out through your head. Inhaling down and exhaling up and out. Just staying with an easy breath there, something that feels good. A slow breath, a quiet breath if you can. And then notice what part of your body today feels the most grounded. It could be the whole right side of your body. It could be your left shoulder. It could be your left foot, or both of your sit bones. But just noticing what part of your body feels the most settled and the most grounded, whatever that means to you. And then cue into a part of your body that feels not so grounded, not so settled. Maybe it's hard for you to sense that area. Just bring your attention there. Maybe it's the backs of the legs. Maybe it's that area in between your shoulder blades. Go ahead and set your intention for class today. We'll take one more inhale, one more exhale, and then we'll open the eyes. Okay. Let's start with some joints. We're going to spend a little bit more time on the joints today. So either moving from your wrists, so moving your wrists up and down as if you were revving up a motorcycle or something. If you have The ability to move the fingers in and out, opening and closing the hand, you can do that too. And just starting to feel how all of the joints in your fingers and your hands and your wrists are feeling. Good. And then we're gonna do that bottle cap twisting with each finger. So grabbing your thumb on one side, if you can grab the thumb, you'll just give five or six twists back and forth, focusing more on the joints of the fingers. And just kind of rolling each finger out and then moving on to the next one. If gripping the finger is hard for you, you're just gonna rub that area and just bring your attention to that area using your knuckles or whatever's accessible for you. You might hear a few cracks and pops. That's totally okay. You can even pull, give the fingers a little pull as you roll the joints. Rubbing the palm or scratching the palm and the back side of the hand. Yeah. And I just want you to sit with that for a second and just notice the difference between the two sides. Okay, so hopefully that side that we just moved and scratched feels a little bit more woken up. And now let's do the other side. So starting to roll that finger. I always like to have you notice the difference when we wake one side up compared to the other side. Because usually it's a pretty significant difference for most people. And remember, when we can sense our body more, our joints and our tissues and our muscles, then we have more control over moving that area. So that's why we do these kinds of warm-ups, to bring that awareness back into the body, to notice if anything is off or anything is awesome, and then to move from there. Scratching the palm or rubbing the palm. I like to scratch, it kind of feels good. Scratching the back of the hand, maybe even down into the wrist a little bit. Okay, good. And let's bring that a little bit more into the shoulders. So just starting with a few shoulder circle rolls. For my standing athletes, I'm just gonna have you you're just gonna take one hip and you're gonna internally and externally roll that hip in and out. So pointing the toes out and pointing the toes in. If you're a seated athlete with movement in your leg, you can do this too. So just massaging the hip joint, rolling in and out, maybe doing 10 or so on each side. If you're rolling your shoulders, let's switch directions. Good. Okay, and then coming to our goalpost arms, turning the hands down and then turning the hands up. And use this as also a test or a check-in and a recheck-in. So noticing what your range of movement is like there, your ease of movement. Does one arm go further than the other? Yep. And then can we circle the hands around the elbows? So my fingers are pointed up towards the ceiling now as I circle. For my standing athletes, you can be doing some knee circles here. So just moving the knees in circles around the ankles. Go ahead and switch directions. Just noticing how those joints are feeling. How are the elbows? How are the knees? Okay, good. And then go ahead and shake that out. We're gonna do a few more with the wrists. So I just want you to find a nice big figure eight with your wrists, really exaggerating how big of a figure eight can you draw just from the wrists. For my standing athletes, you can be doing a figure eight with your ankles or even just circles with your ankles. maybe 10 or so on each side. How are the ankles feeling? How are the wrists feeling? Yeah. Okay, good. And then finding a little bit more body tapping here. So starting on one shoulder, we'll find that tap going down the outside of the arm and then coming up the inside of the arm. Remember, this could be a tap, a grab. I'm going to do more of a grab today because that feels kind of nice. Maybe even rolling around the bones of the lower arm and then working my way back up. Don't forget to get that chest, maybe even that armpit area. Let's do one more on this side. Just finding a sensation that works for you. And then we'll bring it across the chest. I'm just going to have you find that gorilla beating of your chest. And then we're going to go all the way to the end of your exhale. You can move your hands around your chest to get all the different parts. Just do a couple more gorilla. I'm hoping that's not too annoying for that microphone right there. Okay, and then coming to the other arm. So working down the outside of the arm, giving the hand a rub, and then coming back up the inside. You could do more of a twisting movement, more of a grab. Noticing the different kinds of pressure you use through the arm. So it's most likely a lighter pressure through your lower arm, maybe a heavier pressure because you've got a little bit more meat on the upper arm and on the upper trap, so top of the shoulder. Let's do that arm one more time. Trying to cover every inch of skin if you can. Getting that armpit. And then let's go ahead and just continue that, going down the sides of the ribs with both hands. So just up and down, tapping that area. And then we'll bring hands to the back at the base of the ribs. And you're going to trace the bottom of your ribs all the way to the front. You can use your thumbs or you can use your knuckles, but just tracing that outline of the ribs from the back to the front. Tune into your breath as you do this one. Can you deepen your breath down into your hands? Is one side more sensitive than the other? Just do one more like that. Yeah. Coming to the top of the waist and doing the same thing. So hands are going to be on the back side of your pelvis. If you're not sure where the bony parts are, it's okay, because as you draw those hands forward, you'll start to feel the sides of the hips and then coming down into the front. So same thing, just drawing, tracing the outline of the top of the hips from the back to the front using your thumbs or your knuckles. Again, just noticing, are any of those places tender? We have a lot of muscles that insert into this area right at the top of the waist, being your abdominals, some of your deeper abdominals, almost all of your back muscles. So this can be a good spot to give some love to. Okay, and then giving some love to the legs. Let's work going down the outside of the legs. You can stop at the feet to give the feet a quick rub, and then coming up the inside of the legs. And just do that maybe 3 times through. If you're able to reach to the feet, then go for it. If it makes more sense for you to stay on your thighs, that's okay too. Okay, good. Coming to the feet now. So if it is safe and accessible for you to do so, I'll have you grab one of your feet or you can just lean down. And let's start with the bottle cap toe twisting. Remember 5 or 6 for each toe. And then you can start giving the arch of your foot more of a massage. If it's hard for you to reach the foot, we'll just massage the lower leg using your knuckles or your hands, going from your ankle up to your knee, tracing the outline of that bone, your shin bone in the front. Even if that still is hard for you to reach, then you'll massage from your knee to your hip. Again, using your knuckles, you can even use your elbow here if that's easier for you. Dragging your hands from the bottom to the top, whatever part of your leg you're working on. If you're able to reach the lower part of your leg, though, I recommend you stay here because remember, this is really where, especially the lower calf, it's where a lot of that stagnation can happen. We can get swelling and stagnant fluids that get stuck in this area if we don't manually push them out and or if we're not moving our feet back and forth, whether that's through using a strap on a bed or through walking or through something like that. So that pumping of the ankle is what we're emulating with our hands right now by getting all of those fluids to move a little bit back up towards the heart. Okay, let's go ahead and switch feet. Doing your toe roll, your toe twist, your arch of the foot massage, or your massage of the lower leg, or your massage of the upper leg. And just thinking, because I know a lot of folks maybe don't have some sensations in these parts of the lower body, but just thinking to yourself as you do this, the phrase, what might it feel like? What might it feel like to grab my ankle and pull up towards my knee? What might it feel like to twist the toes back and forth? Probably similar to what it feels like when I do my hands and when I do my elbows and when I work on my wrists. So sometimes even just starting there can help. Remember the feet and the hands are similar structures, the wrists and the ankles kind of similar. The knees and the elbows are very similar and the hips and the shoulders are similar. Okay. Go ahead and relax. I'm gonna have you grab, actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'm gonna grab my letter ball just in case. Let's do a little bit of spinal mobility and then we'll jump into some of the visual stuff. Okay, so let's put hands on the hips if you're able to move your hips. Otherwise, hands will be up high on your ribs. And I just want you to start with a rocking, a pelvis or a rib rocking forward back. So that will look like tucking the tail under and then lifting the tail. Tucking the tail under and lifting the tail. And if you're standing this, you're just doing the same thing, tucking under and then lifting. And if you're doing this from the ribs, it will look like rounding the middle part of your back, almost like you're leaning back into your chair, and then pulling forward and shifting your ribs forward, pushing your ribs back, trying to round through the very center, and then pulling forward. Okay, bringing the breath into this, we're all going to do the same breath. It will be an exhale to round back or an inhale and an inhale to pull forward. Exhale to round, inhale to lift. Just staying with that breath nice and slow. Let's do one more each way. Good. And then coming back to the center, keep your hands wherever they are. Actually, let's all bring our hands to our ribs. And then finding our rib translation to the left and to the right. So remember, ribs and shoulders stay parallel-ish with the floor. And it's kind of nice to have your hands on your ribs for this one because I can push my ribs around a little bit with my hands, with my knuckles, to help me feel what kind of movement I want to get out of that. Okay, and then we connect those 4 movements we just did, moving the ribs in a hula hoop around the hips, rounding back, translating to one side, pushing forward, translating to the other side, rounding back. And you'll be doing the same thing standing. Giving the organs a massage, using our breath as we move. Go ahead and switch directions. Yeah, nice everybody. That looks good. Try to keep the head stacked on the spine the whole time. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I saw some heads drifting forward. Okay, good. And coming back to the center. Awesome. Let's bring both arms up. We'll interlace the fingers, palms come up, and then taking a nice dive, rolling all the way down to the floor. Take a couple of breaths at the bottom. And then slowly roll yourself back. Every time I roll down, I end up with the microphone either in my mouth or near my mouth. So I'm sorry if you hear some weird noises when I'm rolled over. That just happened again. We're just gonna do one more roll down. I'll try to keep the mic out of my mouth. Okay, so rolling all the way down. Again, just pause at the bottom, take a couple of breaths. And then on your next exhale, slowly roll yourself back up. Good, and bringing the arms down. Nice work. Okay, hopefully body feels pretty good right now. Let's do just a few more movements for our check-in and re-check-in. So I'm just gonna have you do some overhead arm raises. Noticing how that's feeling for you today. Ease of movement, speed of movement, all of that good stuff. Good. We did the internal, external. Let's do some neck movement. So just turning your head and neck to the left and then to the right. Back and forth a few times. How far is the neck getting? Do you feel like you get stuck at a certain point? And then finding some side bends with the neck. Tilting the head one way, tilting the head the other way. Hands will come together, palms touching. We can also cross the arms if that makes more sense. Finding a rotation to your left. Oh, sorry, I cheated because I took my hands away. Keep your palms together, and then finding a rotation to the right. The reason I have you keep your palms together for this one is because it's a really good way to see how far you're rotating just from your ribs. So that's why when we do this check and recheck in, I usually keep your palms together for this one. Okay, good. For my standing athletes, you could be doing some sit to stands. You could be doing some single leg balance. And then of course you can always do a few hip hinges, maybe even single leg hip hinges if you want something more challenging. Okay, let's grab letter ball. For those of you that have been playing for a while, I'm just going to have you jump right into this. Moving, throwing, or catching the ball around you, bouncing it off the ground, bouncing it off a wall, whatever works. For those of you that are new or just joining, I'm just going to walk you through this again. So holding the ball into your chest, you're going to pull it away from your chest at any angle, any direction away from your body. You're going to look at the ball and quickly say the first letter or number that you see, pull it back in. Hold the ball at a different angle away from your body, first letter number that you see, pull it back in. And you're just going to continue doing that, moving the ball all around you. If you can only move that ball with one arm, you're just going to use that one arm to move it. And if you don't have a letter ball, then you're just looking at a precise point on the object that you're holding. So if you're holding a pair of socks, you're looking at a really precise point on that pair of socks. So the eyes have to work a little bit harder to track the pair of socks or whatever it is that you've got. If you're able to play catch with yourself, doing the same thing, so stopping it wherever you catch it, read the first letter or number that you see, and then keep playing. If you've got a bouncy ball and you can bounce it off the ground, you can do that too. Okay, I'm going to layer on to make this a little bit harder for this. So for those of you that have a letter ball, when you see a number, I'm going to have you add 5. So addition, you're going to add 5, and you're going to say the number that you see adding 5. So if I catch a 4, I'm going to add 5 to that, so I would say 9, okay? If I catch a 16, I would say 20. Wait, am I doing that right? 5. The 21, wow. Oh gosh, no one pretend like that happened. 21, everybody, 21. 16 plus 5 is 21. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, you caught me red-handed on that one. Okay, so you're adding 5 when you see the number. When you see the letter, I want you to go 2 letters ahead. So if you catch a B, you would say D, D as in dog, okay? So instead of a movement, I'm working more of your brain speed. So add 5 to the number, add math is hard, add 2 to the letters. 5 to the numbers, 2 to the letters. And if you don't have a letter ball, you're just going to be playing the same game that you were, bringing that ball away from you, looking at it, and then pulling it back in. All around your body, up, behind you, and down. Just gonna watch folks here. Let's maybe do 10 or 15 more throws. Yeah, the 2-letter up is, yeah, you kind of have to work your way through the alphabet on that one. Yeah, nice. That's good, everybody. I like the variations I'm seeing. Yeah, being sure you hit those angles high above your head. So if you're throwing and catching, try to catch some above your head too, instead of catching it right in front of your face. There we go. So when you've done those, no rush, but when you have done those 10 to 15 or so throws, I'll have you set that letter ball down, and then we'll grab your 2 pencils or 2 cooking utensils or forks or something that's easy for you to hold here. Actually, no, we're gonna start with the pencil push-up, so I'll stay zoomed into the camera. Okay, so if you've got glasses and you're able to take the glasses off and still see the pencil, go ahead and do that now. You're gonna be holding that pencil at arm's length in front of you. Yeah, if you know what you're doing, go ahead and just go right into this, but I'm just gonna talk folks through it again. You're slowly gonna bring that pencil into your face, so the tip of the pencil is lined up right in between your 2 eyes. The second you start to see 2 pencils, you're gonna pull it away from your face. Pulling it in towards your face slowly. Pulling it away from your face slowly. If you can pull it all the way into your face and still only see one pencil, I want you to start moving your head in all directions as you move that pencil in and out. If you're standing or if you're in a chair, you could even do it where you're slowly spinning your body in one direction as you pull that pencil in and out. And if I've talked to you after class, if you know who you are, where you cover one eye and you do the pencil push up with one eye, then you've got that option also. So you would be working on your less dominant eye. Again, if you know what that is, and or if you and I have talked like after class. For those that are blind or visually impaired, we're going to go right into the vestibular system a little bit. So you're going to start by doing maybe 20 to 30 shakes of your head left to right, like you really are aggressively saying no, and then you're really aggressively saying yes. Okay, so a big yes nod, a big no shake with your head. Again, that is only for folks that are blind or visually impaired. You can also do that standing on one leg if you want to make it harder. If you want to make it harder. Yeah, because I know we have a couple folks on there doing that. Okay, do maybe 5 or so more reps of whatever version you're doing. And remember, the quicker you move that pencil, the harder it becomes. So if you speed that up, that might be the only challenge that you need. Okay, when you're done with those 5, go ahead and relax. We're gonna do just some quick near far work here. So pencils are gonna be out in a T to either side. Yeah, and if you also want to do for standing athletes, if you want to do this one balancing on one leg, try doing that. Just add the more challenges you can add to the body for this kind of work to keep it new, um, the the more your input's going to be changing, which is always good. Okay, so turning to the left pencil, looking from the tip of the pencil to the wall, tip of the pencil to the wall, tip of the pencil to the wall. You're going to do that back and forth. Let's do 5 times. So there and back is 1, there and back is 2, there and back is 3, and so on. And then turn your head to the other pencil and near, far, near, far, near, far 5 times. And then switch back and forth. As you do this, I want you, if you're holding your arms out into a T, I want you to think open collarbones, squeezing the muscles between the backs of your shoulders. Yeah, so we're getting a little bit of isometric work in there with your shoulders. For those that are blind or visually impaired, you're going to still keeping your arms out into a T, and you're going to be turning your head from pencil to pencil, so pointing the nose at one pencil, pointing the nose in the other pencil, going back and forth, back and forth. If you want to make it harder, for standing athletes, you're going to start to turn as you do that. So you're slowly turning your body in a circle as you're pointing your nose at one pencil and pointing your nose at the other pencil. If you're a seated athlete, you're just going to be doing kind of like a seesaw rotation back and forth. Same thing as you point the nose at one pencil and then as you point the nose at the other pencil. That variation is for folks who are blind or visually impaired. Everybody else will continue with the near, far, near, far. And then we're all going to come together in a second. Yeah. Remember, if you get dizzy, nauseous, itchy eyes, watery eyes, back off, take a break. Let's just maybe do a couple more repetitions because I always talk a lot during these times. Yeah. And then go ahead and relax. Good. Let's just, arms can be down at your side. Let's just take a nice heavy roll down to the floor. We'll reset the nervous system here. Can you take a breath into your low back? And then on that exhale, slowly peel yourself back up. you can hold on to the pencils if you want. Let's bring right arm up to the ceiling, just coming into a side bend there, breathing into the open ribs. Yep. And then right arm goes up and into the side bend. You can also cross that arm over the chest if that makes more sense for your shoulders. Good. Side bend to the left. Breathe. And then side bend to the right. Yeah, let's do one more each side. Side bend left. And then side bend right. Okay. Now we're all going to come together and we're going to do the variation that I just gave to folks that are blind or visually impaired. So we're all going to be doing that same one. Okay, so for my seated athletes, you're going to keep your arms out into a T. You're going to be looking from right pencil to left pencil quickly. So I'm turning my head back and forth. For folks that are blind or visually impaired, I just want your nose pointing towards that same, just what we were doing. But as you're doing this, I'm going to have you rotate your body from side to side. So it's kind of a quick rotation. My hands stay out in a T and my body rotates as I quickly look back and forth. You'll quickly realize that the coordination needed to do this can be confusing, especially when you're rotating in one direction and looking in the opposite direction. Okay. If you're a standing athlete, you're just going to be slowly turning your body, in a circle, maybe making sure you do an even number of circle turns in each direction. Mhm. Yeah. Making sure, I just want to correct one thing. Making sure that if you're doing the seated rotating version, I want you to, as you rotate to the left, I want it to be slow. So maybe actually slow that down so that I'm looking back and forth to the pencil like 4 or 5 times as I rotate in each direction. So the body rotation part is slow, the head rotation is quick. I should have clarified that. Body rotation slow, head rotation quick. Just do maybe 10 more. Yeah, and I'm curious how people will do with this recheck-in. When you're done with those 10, go ahead and put those pencils down. You can relax. Let's take the arms up overhead, grabbing the elbows, so like you're giving your head a hug. Yep. And you're just gonna start to round down, just a half round down, just rounding your upper back, and then lifting the chest up towards the ceiling. So just drawing a little circle with your upper chest around your ribs. There we go. Inhaling as you lift up, exhaling down, and then switch directions. You can also cross your arms over your chest if that's easier for you. Good. And coming back to the center, we'll put the arms down. Let's shake everything out, a really big shake, whether you're seated or standing, from the legs and the arms. Let your jaw go slack. Stick your tongue out as you shake. And then coming back to the center. Okay, we're going to take left hand to the right hip, just coming into a rotation. Your eyes are going to go as far back to the left as you possibly can, and then come back to the center. Hand to opposite hip, rotating to your right. Hand to the opposite hip, rotating to your left. Okay, I want you to keep moving through that, just holding each rotation for a couple of seconds. For my standing athletes, if you want to make it a little bit harder, we can stagger the feet so that you're walking the tightrope, so one foot in front of the other as you rotate back and forth, just to work on your balance there. And then you could switch your feet halfway through. For everybody, I'm going to layer on. You're going to be using your tongue now. So as you rotate, push your tongue into, so if I'm rotating to the left, push your tongue into the left side of your cheek, like you're trying to puncture that tongue through the cheek. And then as you go to the right, push your tongue through the right side of your cheek. Back and forth. Pushing the tongue one way, pushing the tongue the other way. Again, just another way to stimulate the cranial nerves, to wake up that area, to help increase some of the sensory input coming into the brain. Yeah, that's great. Just do one more like that. And then back to the center. Okay. Let's find our recheck in here. So we'll do a few arm raises up overhead. Did anything change there for you? Ease of movement, speed of movement, comparatively between left and the right. And then let's come to internal and external rotation. So goalpost arms, pivoting up and down. Yeah, no worries. Bye, Ellen. Have a good one. And then hands together, palms touching or crossed over the chest, rotating left and rotating right. Oh, that got a little bit better for me. Can you rotate further? Can you breathe easier? Is there less restriction? Is there more restriction maybe? Yep, and to the center. Just moving the head and the neck, turning to the left, turning to the right. Did that improve or not improve for you? And then fighting a head tilt, left to right. Does that feel any different? For my standing athletes, doing some sit to stands, a single leg balance, a single leg or a double leg hip hinge, and do any of those feel different? Actually, let me just get a thumb reading. I'm just curious for folks. A thumbs up if you improved, a sideways thumbs if it stayed the same, and a downwards thumbs if it got worse. Okay. Yeah, Claudia, I got you. Okay, cool. So mainly up thumbs today and a couple side thumbs. Good. Cool. That's always helpful to know. Awesome. Okay, let's come back to a seated or standing grounding position. Just coming into a nice, easy rotation, tapping the opposite knuckles to the low back, swinging the arms around you. Coming into your breath again, can you drop back into nasal breathing? Okay, good. And then coming back to the center, we'll bring both arms up overhead. Interlace the fingers if you can. Come into a side bend to the left. And then start to roll that side bend down towards the floor. You're going to come all the way through the center and roll up on the right side. Yep, stop at the top and then side bend to the right, rolling down through the center, rolling up on the left, and stop at the top. Yeah, let's do one more each way. Side bend, roll through, stop at the top, side bend, roll through, and stop at the top. Good. We'll bring the arms down. Find one more wiggle with your body. Moving your neck around, moving your shoulders and your chest. You can move your ankles or your legs if you're able to. How does this feel compared to the beginning of class? And then we'll find a still point. We'll close the eyes. Let's go one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly again. Deepening the breath, quieting the breath down. Can you drop back into that area in the beginning of class that felt really grounded for you? Did anything change with that area? Can you drop back into the area that didn't feel so grounded or so settled in the beginning of class? And does that area feel any different? Go ahead and think of one thing you're grateful for today. We'll take one more inhale, one more exhale, and we'll open the eyes. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. Just as a couple of shout outs, thank you to Move United, who continues to sponsor these classes. It has been incredibly helpful, especially during this pandemic. And as always, BORP is accepting donations. Cynthia will drop that link down in the chat box, so any donation is always more than welcome. You can check that out. Also, moving forward for these Tuesday and these Thursday classes, the setting might change. I might be in different places. I'm going to be assisting my mom through chemotherapy. She was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. So I'm going to be kind of going back and forth with that stuff. So the background may be different. The good news is my family dog Darby might be back in the classes because I'll be at my parents' house. But yes, luckily the cancer was caught early. So this is kind of more of like a preventative, get rid of the rest of the cancer in a preventative measure. So yeah, just gonna get through the next few months with Darby by our side, and it'll all be okay. So anyway, if you see a different background, just so you know. Yeah, I think that is it. I'll stick around if people have any questions. Otherwise, thanks for coming. Stay safe, stay dry out there, and we will see you next week. Oh yeah, Bonnie, go.